Emily Hawthorne is a Middle East and North Africa specialist with intelligence platform and publisher Stratfor. She joins me from Austin, Texas. Emily, recapturing the city of Deir-al-Zour, how much of a setback is this really for ISIL?
I think you have to consider the capture of the city from several different angles. And really, it's clear that with the capture of Deir-al-Zour, the Islamic State militant group has lost its last major urban stronghold in Syria. And as your Damascus correspondent said, the next only real critical town in sight is Abu Kamal on the border, right across the Iraqi border. And this is really the last remaining urban place that ISIL has. And so by losing this key piece of territory, we're seeing the transition from really a strong conventional fighting force to what really is an insurgent militant force, and that really lacks a lot of territory in Iraq and Syria.
You know, the operation to get back the city was done with the help of Russian-backed Syrian army. And if you talk to the Russians, they say, listen, our strategy in Syria is working. What would you say to that?
You know, Russia has been able to achieve a lot in their involvement in Syria. They've been able to have a firm stronghold in the Middle East, a way to be involved in the major conflict that most Middle Eastern powers have some sort of involvement in. They've been able to back a power in Damascus that supports Russian aims in the Middle East. And they also have been able to solidify and strengthen their bonds with Iran, which also is very invested in making sure that the regime in Damascus remains in power. And as we've also seen, Russia has been able to test and really hone some of its military capabilities actually on the ground in Syria. So this has been, and they've also been fighting the Islamic State military group, so there's a counter-terror aspect to it as well.
Emily, how concerned are you that with ISIL losing so much territory in Syria and in Iraq, they're just going to regroup, reorganize, and launch attacks from other places?
You know, this is a major concern because there is, you know, on the map that you showed, there is some remaining territory. Most of it's unpopulated, but there's vast expanses of desert territory in western Iraq and in eastern Syria that we're going to see some of these remaining militants flee to. And you also have various enduring sort of civil conflict in western Syria that's going to draw a lot of loyalist attention back to the western parts of the country. And you also have in Iraq, you have a conflict right now between Kurdish forces and the forces of the central government in Iraq. So you have a lot of political conflicts that are going to be drawing attention elsewhere. So there is a concern that there are pockets of IS militants that will endure. But I think still there is a lot of concerted and concentrated focus on making sure that this group does not regain territory. But there will be an enduring fight against the group as an insurgent force.
And how do you believe this operation, how was it different than the one that involved taking back Raqqa, which of course was done with the help of US-backed alliance?
And, you know, and this gets to one of the really interesting and concerning things happening in eastern Syria right now, and that is this race to the Iraqi border by several different forces. You have the United States-backed Syrian Democratic Forces that reclaimed Raqqa, and they are also trying to move towards that Iraqi border because they're trying to prevent Syrian forces from reaching the border before them first. If Syrian forces reach the border first, that's really going to preserve this arc of land for Iran to maintain connected through Iraq, through Syria and on to Lebanon. And that's something that US-backed forces do not want to see happen. So you're seeing a territorial race that's going to endure long after the Islamic State is out of that area.
All right, we'll leave it there. Emily Hawthorne, thank you.